Well, good evening. It is February the 25th, 2017, and I wanted to make a separate video for my March forecast. It just wasn't going to be able to fit into my weekly weather briefing without going over 15 minutes. And so now we have a separate video for the March forecast. Just kind of let's reflect back on the rest of this winter. Meteorological winter began on December the 1st, and a bunch of the meteorologists, I'm not a certified meteorologist. I will eventually be one, but I'm not right now. But me and several other forecasters, I guess you could say, were forecasting a colder than normal month for December across this area of the country. That ended up verifying. We did have very cold weather the first 3 weeks. Now, it wasn't a well below average temperature month, but it was a little bit slightly below average, about average to slightly below average. And that was the forecast. We did see the cold coming. The pattern was setting itself up for one, and that ended up verifying. If the last week of December didn't end up being warm from Christmas through New Year's, then that would have really helped out the forecast to make it even more below average. But you always get that one kink into the forecast, that one throw into the that one fly into the ointment that just completely ruins it all. So that is what happened in December. Although it didn't run the forecast completely, it got very close to making it an above normal temperature month. But we did end up getting through with below average temperatures. Once we got into the first week of January, we flipped right back to cold. But what we saw was a cooling in the stratosphere, which usually equals and argues for below normal temperatures in the western United States and above normal temperatures in the eastern United States, which is where we live in western Kentucky. And that ended up meaning that we were going to have to predict a milder period going into the rest of January. The mild period was a little bit more pronounced and a little bit more aggressive than I would have expected it to be, but that is just how the weather rolls. Sometimes it doesn't do what you want it or think it will do. And then guess what? You go into February thinking that it was going to be below normal. Many forecasters were the smart ones and said below normal temperatures were not going to be the way to go for the month of February, but I went and I hung out on a limb and I said, below normal temperatures, let's go for it. And that did not end up verifying, even though February is not over. I'm not even going to show you the map of the current temperature anomalies for the month so far because they are absolutely outrageous. I wouldn't be surprised if we set our warmest February on record in the Paducah, Kentucky National Weather Service office, and just absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I feel like we are setting records every couple of days now. I mean, it feels like ever so often you see a tweet go out from a National Weather Service locally in your area saying that we are about to set a new high record, whether it's a new record low temperature for like a new warmest low record, or whether it's a actual record high temperature. I just don't feel like we're setting cold temperatures anymore. I mean, I think I saw a tweet yesterday where it was over 1,500 weather offices, over 1,500 cities, not offices, 1,500 cities, over 1,500 cities had measured an record high temperature or a record high reading of some sort when it comes to the temperature department. So far this February, it's not even over yet. And meanwhile, there was only 29 cities that had recorded a record low temperature. Whether that was a record low high temperature or just a record low temperature, that was a 155 to 1 ratio. Absolutely outrageous. If the 1,500 to the 29 doesn't say anything, then the 155 to the 1 ratio, that really stuck out to me when I saw that. So just absolutely phenomenal. Nobody saw this coming. Even if you were forecasting above normal temperatures, I can tell you right now, even though I'm not your mind, I'm not your brain, I can just tell you, you were not expecting an almost, if not a February that was going to be the warmest on record in your local area. Absolutely crazy. The West is experiencing some below normal temperatures, but I'm forecasting for Western Kentucky only. So our area, our neck of the woods out of the entire country, has absolutely been spoiled with this warmth. I keep telling people we're gonna pay for this. It's gonna be like March the 20th, and it's gonna snow. Not actually going to, but I'm just giving out an example of like we're going to pay for this at some point. And now I'm starting to look at the long range models. And I'm saying, yeah, we got some cold spells, but they're transient. They're not really good Arctic cold spells that are going to be coming in prolonged, extended cold spells that are just going to completely shut down the entire atmosphere to where it's like, hey, winter is back. It's just going to be transient cold. It comes and it goes, which also means that the warmth is going to be transient also, but I think we will see more warmth winning out than we do cold because we have to remember that this is the first official month of spring. So the warmth is going to be argued for more over than the cold because we are finally exiting out of the winter season. Let's look at the upper air pattern. This is 500 millibars, so this is way, way over your head. This is several thousand feet aloft in the atmosphere. And what I want to show you is how the ridging and the troughing is going to take place. Where you see the reds, that is a ridge. That is a ridge in the upper levels of the atmosphere. Now, just because you have a ridge does not mean that you are going to have above normal temperatures, meaning warmer than normal temperatures at the surface where we live at. We don't live at 500 millibars, so we can't say, oh, here comes the ridge, and then say, oh, well, that means that we're going to have above normal temperatures. I've seen numerous examples this entire winter, not in our local area, but in other parts of the country where they were under a ridge when looking at the upper level pattern, the 500 millibar pattern, but yet if you get a little bitty system cut underneath, then you can get a little bit of a snowstorm in some of those areas that experience that this winter, and then that means below normal temperatures most of the time, unless their snow just wasn't a good snow or not. Let's go ahead and move into this upcoming, this is Saturday, so this is today, showing that we have the trough in the area. Now that does equal below normal temperatures because that is what we experienced today. That's what we're going to continue to experience tonight. The ridge builds back in for the beginning of this week, at least the first half of this week, but then the trough comes back in, very transient trough, comes and it goes, like I just said, and then here comes the ridge again. You notice why the ridging is coming up, and that's because the storm track is further towards the northwest, and that brings me to another point. When your storm track is to the north and west, every low pressure center that passes to your north and west is going to draw in warm, moist air from the Gulf of Mexico. That equals above normal temperatures for your area majority of the time, and then on the northwest side of that low, they end up with below normal temperatures or colder temperatures than the people that are ahead of the area of low pressure, because on the back side of the low pressure center you're getting northerly winds, northwesterly winds, Canadian Arctic air getting pulled in behind that area of low pressure. So those folks are usually experiencing either average or below average temperatures. Sometimes they can be experiencing above average temperatures in some cases this winter, where the temperatures before that low pressure center were so far above normal that even when they got that northerly flow in, it was still above normal. Watch how that ridging just continues to stay in our area, and then here comes that trough. Now, what I want you to notice, or what I want to tell you, is that a couple days ago, this trough was looking like it was coming right through the central United States into the plains, and it was going to be blocking in for portions of the central United States. Now look where it's at. It's all the way over here in the Great Lakes, upper Midwest, parts of the Northeast, and that makes me think, will we even get hit by this trough by the time it comes in? I mean, I really do wonder that. I mean, if this trend continues, this is still about 10 days out, and if this trend continues, it could very well just end up being absolutely nothing. So I'm not banking on a cold shot around the 6th, 7th, and 8th of March yet. But as we get into the middle of March, what's starting to look like is the entire upper level pattern is flipping. When you see these cold troughs, the trough, especially this trough in the west, parts of the Gulf of Alaska, even the Greenland area, all seeing, I mean, this is an anti-log. This is what you don't want to see when it comes to a cold winter or a cold pattern. You don't want to see this. You want to see the exact opposite, where you have ridging in all of these areas that you see blue, and then you have the blue right here where you see all this ridging, which is the red. So I think right now my forecast is that the first week of March is going to be below average, but once we get into the well, I'm going to say about the first 2 weeks of March are going to equal below average, but once we get into about the middle of the month, I think things are going to begin to flip, and I think they're going to flip for good, because I think the entire pattern is going to switch, and it's going to say, hey, spring is here, and spring is here to stay. Now, that is for our area. I mean, people in the northern plains, upper Midwest, parts of the Northeast are still going to have some winter ahead of them in parts of the end of March, beginning of April, but I do believe that a ridge is going to pump up into majority of the eastern two-thirds of the nation, and that's going to spell some above normal temperatures into the area. I have some model support. This is the NCEP CFS 2-meter temperatures for the month of March. It is forecasting well above normal temperatures. I don't think we will be well above normal, but I think we will be above normal. It's not going to be a record-breaking warm March unless something just completely goes haywire with the forecast. Here's the sea surface temperature anomalies. A big reason why our entire winter was completely ruined and completely backfired from a lot of the forecast, including mine, was because of this cold pool. Now, this cold pool was there before my winter forecast came out. I saw it, but it just wasn't as east as it is now. It was right about in this area where I'm circling my mouse at. But what it did was slowly over time it migrated to the east because we had an active storm track coming into the western United States the entire winter. Many of you watching this have probably seen the headlines, storm after storm after storm hitting California. It's helping their drought, but it's not good that they're getting this all at once. They're building up some great snowpack, excellent snowpack in the Sahara Nevada. But when we look at this and we see this, we think, oh no. Because when this is coming in, that argues for a trough in the west and a ridge in the east. And that was not my forecast. It wasn't a lot of other meteorologists' forecast either. And so just keep that in mind, that this is what was the main key player that ruined the winter forecast. And I will make a separate video once I know for sure that winter is over on just kind of a look back at winter and see what went wrong and what went right. So right now, this is what the CFS V2 model is predicting for snowfall the next 45 days. I absolutely hate this map, but I just want to show you that there is some model out there that is still thinking that we will see a couple of snowflakes flying in the air and actually accumulating. Do I think we will? No, I think we're done with snow. I don't think we're going to see another snowflake fall from the sky, but there is a couple of exceptions with these cold spells coming in the next couple of weeks. If one of them can happen to meet up with a system, then we might end up seeing a couple of inches of snow or something, but right now I'm just not seeing it. And I want to go ahead and show y'all my final forecast for March. Temperatures I think are going to be above normal. If I had to add another reasoning in there, it would not only be because of those cold sea surface temperatures in the Gulf of Alaska, these right in here, I think that is going to persist. This is for the month of March, and it is also showing that cold pool expanding even more, so that is going to argue for even more troughing in the west and ridging in the east. And I also believe that because of the storm track beginning to shift to the northwest of us, now that's not because it's going to be warmer than average. That's just because the climatology argues for the storm track to begin shifting back to the north. It should not be hanging around in the southern part of the United States into the month of March. It should already be back up to the parts of the plains. So that part is normal. So I do think that we're going to see above normal temperatures. And then the precipitation is going to be above average, and that is because of a active storm track that is going to begin to develop. The Missouri Valley is already beginning to develop into a moderate to severe drought. So it would be helpful for them to be getting this active storm track as well. Snowfall, I think we're going to be below average. Now, the average snowfall for the Paducah, Kentucky National Weather Service office is about 1 to maybe 3 inches. I'd have to look back. It's not much, but that's the average for the month of March to get snowfall. And the reasoning behind below average snowfall is because the cold's going to be transient, and that's just because you're going to get rain associated with the cold front or an upper level system, and then it's going to cool down. And then you're going to warm up, it's going to rain, it's going to cool down. And that process is going to repeat, rinse and repeat, until we are finally into spring and we don't have to worry about any more ups and downs. Now, an average spring, you get a couple of cold mornings. You don't have to wait until the last 32-degree morning or below to say, oh, now we're into spring. I mean, spring does have some ups and downs, so keep that in mind, but I think we won't have to worry about sustained cold, which is what winter is associated with, and not spring. I don't think we will have to worry about that once we get past the middle of March or so. We're going to have to wait and see how March turns out. Hopefully this forecast will verify. We'll just have to wait and see. I would personally love to pull out a snowstorm, a good one, before the entire winter is over. A little voice in the back of my head says that we're going to get some more snow, but this entire pattern does not show it. So we'll just have to wait and see. But until then, we're just going to have to make another video at the end of March, beginning of April, and see how this month goes.